Hey, we want to say welcome to the first Two Guitars
Yes.
podcast. Jimmy Hewitt.
Josh Strakowski?
Yeah, we're excited to be doing it.
Definitely.
We are a instrumental guitar duo based in the center of the universe, Temecula, California, and we film and we do our guitar production from a place we call the Oasis. It's our little spot here in Southern Cal. Two Guitars instrumental guitar duo that we do cover tunes. We do our version, our arrangements of iconic cover tunes, and in saying that, we appeal to a general audience. So the podcast isn't necessarily going to be a guitar centric podcast. We will have a segment called Rhythm of the Week, Loop of the Week. But other than that, our podcast is going to pretty much flow with segments like the healing power of music, which can come from all walks of life. We're going to have a song of the week, musician of the week. Hopefully, we'll cover the song ourselves, maybe, maybe not, and try to bring those guests in as well. So, whoever we're covering, have them on the show as well. And then, in general, a guest of the week. And that guest of the week is hopefully going to have music somehow in their life or in their business even. We do welcome your feedback. So
Yeah, please leave comments, ask us questions. We'll get back to you. We're just trying to see how music permeates into general everyday life, and we're happy to hear how it permeates into yours. So,
all right. And without further ado, our first guest is the legendary surfer, musician, actor, and artist, Mr. Corky Carroll. And we did get that interview done, and we're excited to have you see it and hopefully enjoy some time with Corky Carroll. Hey, it's Corky Carroll. What an honor, Corky, to have you with us as our first guest on our first Two Guitars podcast from Jimmy Hewitt. And
Josh Strakowski.
welcome to Two Guitars,
Hey,
Corky Carroll.
I'm stoked to be here. You might as well crash the show right off the bat.
Right on, man. Well, without further ado, why don't we run down just some of the many achievements and highlights of your lustrous career as a surfer, musician, actor, and artist. And then I'll say we'll fly in and edit some of these visual images and footage of this when we do our final editing later in the week. But for right now, let's go. I'm going to just run down a little bit of your dossier, your resume, brother. It's pretty impressive.
Thanks.
All right. Corky Carroll, considered a pioneer in the sport of surfing, the first real professional surfer, as well as the first to receive paid endorsements, which started at the age of 16. From 1966 to 1970, you won the United States Surfing Championship. So I'm counting 5 years of winning the U.S. championships. Is that correct, Corky?
Well, I won the overall championship, US championship 5 times in a row, which is the kind of like all of the events together.
I did. Okay, cool.
I won the men's 3 times, the juniors a couple times, the paddle race about a dozen times, and
Nice.
overall 5 times.
So we've also seen that you won the international surfing championships 3 times. You won the international big wave contest in Peru in 1967, which begs the question, how big is maybe the biggest face you've ever taken off on, or the biggest wave if you're measuring it from the back or the front, what have you? What do you think your biggest wave was?
I always thought the way they used to measure waves was completely nuts. Nobody knew what it was. It'd be like 20 times over your head, and they say it was 4 feet.
Okay.
Remember the first wave I took off on at Waimea Bay? I pulled out, and then the Georgetown who's paddling goes, "Oh, that was a bona fide 20-foot wave." What, 20 foot? You're out of your mind. That sucker was 300 feet.
Nice. Nice. So so maybe would it be safe to say your biggest wave was there in Waimea?
No, actually, the biggest wave I ever caught was at Makaha, I was out the same day that Greg Noll was supposedly caught the biggest wave that anybody had ridden, when none of us saw it. Um, but that day was enormous. It was really big. I only caught one wave that day, and it was easily 4,000 feet.
Nice.
It was a
Hey,
monster.
what? And you were riding a longboard at the time. Was it a big
Yeah,
gun?
obviously. I think I
Yeah,
had my 11-foot big wave gun, and I
sure.
wanted like another 10 feet on it.
That's awesome. So altogether, we're counting like you've won over 100 surfing competitions as well. You basically pioneered the use of the shortboard in surfing called the Hobie Corky Carroll Mini model, which is huge. I mean, because shortboard surfing has been kind of the rage for I don't know how many decades now. And you also helped design the first authentic surf trunks with Nancy Caton over at Canvas by Caton on PCH and Surfside, where I was a frequent customer, and my buddies, we're from Long Beach, so we would ride down PCH and stop at Canvas by Caton and sometimes buy some Churchill fins or some trunks. And who knew that you were the designer of some of those trunks? Hey, they worked, man. They were great.
Yeah, I just
Um,
lived across the street, and one day I wandered over there. They made boat covers. I went, can you guys make me a pair of surf trunks? And "Well, what do they look like?" And I drew them out, and they kind of made me a pair of this boat cover canvas surf trunks. And they were great, but they were so stiff they would stand up by themselves.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
gave me a real bad ride. Then they
Hey,
got some cotton and made some good ones.
I remember Nancy Caton. She was a sweetheart. She was great. Yeah. After your surfing career, which you retired from at the ripe old age of 24, you became a musician and recorded 13 albums on your own, I believe, along with writing several books on surfing. And as a musician, collaborating with such luminaries as Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees. Can you tell us a little bit more about your recording career? That's pretty significant. 13 of your own albums.
Yeah, I've written a lot of songs, and yeah, Michael Nesmith produced one of my singles. I was on his label for a little while, Pacific Arts Records, and I played since I was young, but surfing kind of was in the forefront, and I was really getting deeper interest in it as my surfing career was kind of winding down.
Sure.
And when when I stopped competing, I just went kind of full bore into music, and put
Very
together
cool.
a band, and we played a bunch of places, and
Yeah.
we made it to the middle.
You
We
were
made it playing in bars, and we'd headline the clubs like Golden Bear, the Troubadour, and stuff like
sure.
that,
Yeah. Golden
and
Bear was
open for other
amazing.
people, which basically meant, man, we didn't make any money.
Yeah. Hey, just out of curiosity, were you friends with the Laguna Beach band, the famous band Honk?
Yes, I love them. They're one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah, I
They're
remember.
still rocking today.
Yeah, they are. And that was a Golden Bear favorite band back in the
Oh
day.
yeah,
I remember that.
yeah,
So you were also invited by Bruce Brown to be in the iconic surf movie Endless Summer. You appeared on the Johnny Carson show, the Merv Griffin show. You did those Miller Lite beer commercials. You also appeared through a cameo as the grubby grouper on the SpongeBob SquarePants episode Bubble Buddy. I might add that I did, as a guitarist, some SpongeBob sessions. But that's a kick, wasn't it? Working the cameo appearance of Bubble
yeah.
Buddy on,
That was special. That was really fun,
yeah,
And they've showed that thing 20 billion times because I'm still getting residuals from that, and it was 25 years ago. And
nice.
but every 3 months, I get $37, $38.
That's awesome, man. Hey, you can buy some surf wax with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been on the cover of Surfer magazine. In '68, you were voted the number one surfer in the world by your peers, which we understand is, a good feeling to be voted number one by your peers. I
Yeah, that was kind of like my favorite thing.
Yeah. All right. As well, you started the Corky Carroll Surf Schools in Huntington Beach in Costa Rica. And let's not forget to mention you are now thriving as an amazing artist with the list going on and on. So kudos to you, man. Corky Carroll, you have lived a full life, to say the least, and have a legacy most could only dream of. Truly blessed. Again, what an honor to have you on the Two Guitars show. So, first question, tell us, looking back, this is kind of a canned question, but we're curious. Would you have changed anything or done anything differently?
Well, I always think about that. There's a couple things that I might have done differently. Um, but if I would have done them differently, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I'm like really happy with where I'm at right now. So, if I had to change anything, I probably would have just like not mouthed off to a few people that I did. And that was about pretty much it. I might have planned a little more for the future.
Yeah. Do you ever think about, like, you were the beginning of uh, the paid surfer, and now some of these guys, you think of guys like John Florence and Medina out of Brazil and these world champs making millions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was cool being at the beginning because it was a good living back then. Um, Surfing, I was making more than my dad was, and he was the president of an electrical company, you know. But in comparison, to what the guys are making today, it's no comparison. But
yeah,
it's the same in everything. When I was doing the Miller Lite stuff, a lot of we had some really famous athletes on there, and they all said the same thing. Yeah, when I played, I was getting like, $6,000 a month.
right,
That's
right,
no
right.
kidding, it's like, they
Yes.
it's
Well,
all relative.
Josh, go for the next one. We have a little question
Yeah, let
about
me.
the music
We
and
were
the
getting we were
albums.
getting fun points though, there was a whole deal.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, right.
We had a lot of fun.
a lot of fringe benefits.
Yeah. Okay, Corky. So, as to your music, all of your 13 albums, I know you've done 20 in total, playing on other musicians' albums as well.
Yeah.
What attracted you to deeper levels of music? What were some of your main inspirations?
I just really liked it. Even when I was a little kid, I always, had like, record player. And I remember one time we lived right kind of on the beach, and a friend lived across the street and he had a deck that stood out over the ocean. We put my record player in a big stack of 45s, you know,
Awesome.
on the deck, and we had all these instrumental 45s, like What I'd Say and 40 Miles of Bad Road and Walk Don't Run and all these things.
Awesome.
uh, Put the record player on and jammed out to riding some waves to the music, not taking into consideration that the records were, you know, plastic or wax or whatever they were. And the sun like got about halfway out and you hear the record going, sun was melting the record.
Yeah.
But
S-
later
We're
on, I actually had a pair of waterproof um the little things that have music, headphones. So I had a
Yeah.
waterproof one, and for years I surfed with headphones. I had I would make a soundtrack in the morning before I'd surf or the night before, and I had music in my ears, and people would like be talking to me. I'd be going, yeah, yeah, cool, and I'm listening to music. What? What do you listen to? Stones.
right on, right on.
Awesome. Yeah.
So some of your inspirations, I'm guessing you may have gotten to know Dick Dale for a minute. You guys are kind of in the same universe.
Yeah, oh yeah, Dick and I were friends. I used to see him at the Rendezvous in Balboa when I was like in high school, and he surfed, and he kind of wanted to gravitate to hang out with the surfers, but I get go hang out with him during his breaks because that's where all the chicks would go. They want to hang out
Yeah,
with Dick,
yeah,
you know. So
yeah.
he'd take a break and hang out, and then he'd go back and play, and we'd have take the chicks out on the beach.
This is a true story. My friend of mine hired Dick Dale to do a concert, and it was cash up front, half the cash up front, and half before he went on stage. And we were in the back of the stage in a trailer to get his second half of the cash. And this is God's honest truth. He put a pistol on the table, a loaded gun,
Yeah,
and
he did all kinds of stuff like that. He was kind of a
and
rebel.
and it was kind of, we're it's time to pay the second half before I
Yeah.
go on stage. It was great. All right, so how do you approach songwriting? When you're thinking about writing a song, does it just come to you, or is it something that is more contrived or
It's there isn't a set formula with me. Sometimes I'll think about a song for like ages, and then finally it'll just like come out. Like I have this one song on my newest album that actually I'm on a record label that's done by you guys on Darla Records, and they're based in Vista. And
Oh,
I have a song on my newest album called Suicide Chicken. And one day I was on my way to surfing and this chicken was standing on the side of the road and it was starting to run out. And so I stopped and then it ran back and I started going, it ran back out again and did this about 3 times. Oh man, that chicken's trying to commit suicide. It's like, hey, wow, that's a great idea for a song, Suicide Chicken. Why did the chicken cross the road kind of deal.
yeah.
And it
sure does
percolated in my head for about 5 years. And then finally one day I was kind of sitting there and I had I forget what I was going through my head. I think it was cat scratch fever. And I started going suicide chicken and suicide chicken. And it just came out. I wrote it
sure
in about 10 minutes. Just started writing, tall and brave on the side of the street, the badass chicken you ever want to meet. And
that's
it just
great.
kind of came out.
Sure, man. So does sometimes do melodies come to you before rhythms, or do they go hand in hand, or do you get a rhythm that comes to you first, or is it more of a visual concept like the suicide chicken?
Uh, yeah, it just kind of comes together. I'll have an idea for a song, and in the idea, I kind of have the genre, whether it's going to be a faster, slower, a ballad, or a rocker, or whatever it's going to be. And then I'll just kind of start screwing around with it, and with my guitar or something, and it'll start piecing itself together.
I
And
was I was going to ask you what instrument you compose from. Do you mostly compose from a guitar?
yeah, mostly guitar, like
Nice.
pretty much exclusively. I have a keyboard, but uh, I don't play it that much. Only
Sure.
I use it when I record.
Josh, why don't you take the next one? It's kind of something we touched on, but um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Corky, when surfing and or being in your world as an artist painting the amazing surf and beach and landscape scenes you paint, does music enter into these flows either subliminally or maybe as an audio background or in your head when you're surfing or painting?
Well, it's kind of both. A lot of times I listen to music while I paint. I
yeah,
have a Bluetooth speaker kind of like right here. And, I listen to a lot of my old favorites. I like to listen to Van Morrison, or I was telling you guys, instrumental guitar music, or the
like
Stones, or ZZ
like you
Top,
were mentioning
whatever. It kind
Gabor
of
Gazabo, and yeah,
Yeah, I like him because it's that kind of stuff you don't really have to listen to, and it sets a cool mood,
yeah,
But then sometimes, like I'll be listening like ZZ Top, and the painting definitely will be affected.
Change.
One day I was listening to the Grateful Dead, and I painted this kind of cool point break, and literally the colors that I was using kind of came from the music. I could feel the colors, and I named the painting Punta Jerry Garcia. Like Point Jerry
Point.
Garcia.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
That's
I have
So,
that right here. Here it is.
so show us.
Here's Punta Jerry Garcia.
right on.
It's
You know,
got,
in regards to the art, is it mostly watercolors that you're doing, or is it
no, I do acrylic.
acrylic? Okay, acrylic. I was going to ask, or acrylic, yeah. Um, amazing. We are absolutely going to be talking about purchasing some of your paintings. I'm blown away with. I especially like the colorful ones that you do. You come up with some great colors, and I love those slabs and those long barrels that you paint, and it's just amazing. Really amazing.
Today's.
How long have you been painting for, Corky?
Well, I started when I was in high school doing watercolor.
Oh,
And then years later, when I was working at Surfer Magazine, we moved into a big new facility, and in the back was a warehouse with a bunch of empty offices. And I always got kind of interested in airbrush, and
mhm.
they let me use one of the offices to do airbrush paintings. And I got into doing those one year, and we're selling them in the art gallery down at Dana Point Harbor. And it kind of got me going into painting and selling the paintings. And then when I stopped working at Surfer, I didn't have any place to paint anymore, so I stopped. But then when I moved to Mexico, maybe the first year, one of our guests was a painter, and he left me a little acrylic set when he left. He goes, "Here, you gonna try this?" So then I went and bought a couple canvases and made a couple of kind of dumb little paintings. I went, well, this is bitching. So I started kind of painting these sort of cartoony, faces and frogs and iguanas and waves and palm trees. And I put it on the wall, put them on the walls, and people, hey, I kind of dig that. How much is that? And I started selling them, but not seriously. I mean, it was just kind of a side thing. I love to do them, and
Yeah.
maybe I'd sell 10 or 12 a year. I mean, it wasn't any major deal. And, but then a few years ago, when my body started giving out and I couldn't surf as much, um, I was kind of wondering, what am I going to do? And my wife goes, why don't you get a little more serious about the paintings? Like, well, I don't know if we can live on selling my paintings. She goes, well, give it a shot and see what happens. So I started painting more seriously, like every day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
posting them on Facebook, and they started catching on. And thankfully, now I'm able to sell enough paintings that we can eat.
Well, I got to say this. I told my daughter I was going to do an interview with you, and she said, "Corky Carroll, yeah, the surf legend." She goes, "But Dad, he's a great artist too." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I dig his art a lot." And she said, in my orthodontist's office, he's got a few Corky Carroll paintings in his office. He's a California orthodontist. I'm not
Ah,
sure. I don't know his name, but she mentioned that, and she wants to buy one of your paintings too. She goes, I'm determined to get a Corky Carroll painting. So
I don't
I
know
said
about
I
being
would.
a great artist, but I try to get the feel. If I can get the feel, make that I'm looking for, I'm real happy with it. I always
Yeah,
say my paintings are somewhere between cartoon and reality, yet neither.
right on. Well, so hey, we're not gonna keep you much longer. Maybe a couple more. In your these this adventurous Corky Carroll path that you've been on and you're continuing with, where do you think you're going these days? I mean, art is definitely a part of the path. Is there anything else that's like cooking on
No,
your?
it's art. I'm 100% into it. I get up in the morning, and it's just like when I surfed all the time. Get up, I can't wait to go surf. I
Yeah,
get up in the morning, I can't wait to paint. I
nice.
get my coffee and I check my mail and messages and Facebook. And Facebook's where I sell everything.
Sure.
And then I get up, paints and a canvas, and I start painting. And usually I come up with some sort of concept while I'm asleep or
Nice.
sleeping, or I'll see something that just I want to do, and it'll stick. I that mountain the other day was kind of cool, or whatever it is, you know.
And
And
those scenes that you're coming up with, like where you have those barrels and those sets, and what part of the world are they coming from? They could be multiple parts of the world, or are they certain historical
I do
spots that you've
tropical.
served?
I do a lot of tropical,
Yeah.
and there's definitely a South Pacific feel, and there's a
Yes.
Caribbean feel. They both are a little different as far as colors go. And I do those. And then sometimes I like to do kind of cold. I'll do like Pacific Northwest, kind of with some pine trees and stuff, you know. But
Yeah.
for the most part, they're tropical. They're islands, and there's beaches and palm trees and islands in the sunset. And I'm real
Yeah.
into like clouds and sky, and
Yeah.
I try to put
I love those like purple hued clouds you come up with too. Those are beautiful, man. Some really nice color choices. Um, and then music is usually on in the background when you're painting. Is it typical?
Yeah, as in,
Yeah.
my art table is my guitar case, and I have a 9 foot by 9 foot soundproof room, and it's where I'm looking at you guys now is my office. I have my computer and I have shelves that go to the ceiling. And if I
Sure.
turn over here, I have my guitar case and table, and all my art stuff's here and shelves to the ceiling, and my shirts and stuff hanging over there. I go back over here, and well, at the moment it's paints, but this is where all my music stuff is, and my recording equipment. And that's my recording studio, and over here's my closet. So everything I own's in this one 9 foot by
No,
9 foot
nice.
room. My wife has the rest of the house.
Yeah. Hey, just curious, what is your go-to guitar when you pick up the guitar? Is it an acoustic guitar, a favorite acoustic or something?
Well, I've got a few. I've got a Gibson Les Paul, which is what I play mostly when I'm out, and I also have a Taylor, one of those acoustic electric. The moment the name of it.
Might be the TX5 even or something like that.
Yes,
I don't.
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Sure. Oh,
And I have
nice.
a mahogany one of those I really like. And then I have a little Koa, a Taylor Koa acoustic, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Those that's what I got right now.
Nice.
And I have a
Nice.
few violins. I also play violin.
Is
Oh,
that is
awesome.
that is that Les Paul a vintage Les Paul possibly? Have you had it for a while or?
No, it's actually not that vintage. I've only had it about maybe 4 years, and I had it chambered, um,
Okay.
kind of custom because they're heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it chambered, so it's not quite so heavy. It's only like 7 pounds, 3 ounces or something. Some of those things are like 87 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. They can be
At
heavy.
the end of your set, you're like bent over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I don't know, Josh, you want to just catch the last question for us and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So, Corky, when all is said and done and you take that next step into eternity, what would you like to be remembered for?
I don't know. He was a good guy. He made us laugh.
It's all good, man. It's all good. You let a couple guys go before you in the lineup. Did you actually do that, or because we hear there's a hierarchy at like Sunset, and we're surf fans. Josh surfs a little bit. I body surf. We're Californians that way, but
It's a good feeling, surfing. And, I always kind of wanted to do stand up. I I like making people laugh.
yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Corky, on behalf of Two Guitars, Jimmy Hewitt, and
Josh Czerkowski?
thank you, Corky. Two Guitars, rhythm loop of the week. Simple E chord going to an A chord. Right hand will be down, 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 up, down, up, down. Switching to the A, same thing. Down, 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 up, down, up, down. Put it together. Okay, so now if you have a looper, go ahead and loop that and try to improvise to that if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can improvise to this rhythm loop. Book a lesson with Josh.
Yes, but for right now, we're going to do something really simple. We're just going to use the E major pentatonic. So, go ahead. Change up the rhythm.
Rhythm loop of the week. Two Guitars. Hey, we want to thank you for making the first Two Guitars podcast right here from Temecula, California, the center of the universe. And filming here at the Oasis is always a great time. We also want to thank our first guest, the legendary surfer, actor, musician, and artist, Corky Carroll. Thank you, Corky, for doing the show. And we also want to suggest that you
like, comment, and subscribe. Please leave a comment below or any suggestions that you have. We welcome all of it. Yeah.
right on. Hey, see you next week with another special guest from Two Guitars.